Hello, aloha everybody. This is Lusa Irebeña with Soul Hangout and the Hawk Mindset. And I'm here with Colleen Rich, who's a longtime friend. Actually, I met Colleen about 6 years ago. And we're here to talk about her crowdfunding campaign and her involvement as a light worker and as a light warrior. And at the same time, to talk about this journey that we are all doing, which is crowdfunding. Colleen has been somebody that I respect very much over the years because she's one of those what's the word? There was something they said in the internet the other day, which is cyber heroes. Cyber heroes that are, shifting the paradigm that, is out of the rat race for years, surviving, trying to, contribute her sole purpose to humanity. She's one of the most service-oriented people I know, thorough and conscientious as they get. And so, thank you so much, Colleen, for being here and for your contribution to humanity.
Well, thank you.
How are you today?
Introduction there. Thank you very much.
So, Colleen, I wanted to start a little bit your story from the beginning. How was it that, what were the elements or the events that led you to follow this path? Because you were a nurse, right?
Right. It started way back. I was a transplant cardiac RN, and sorry if my voice still isn't completely 100% yet. I was a transplant cardiac RN going into anesthesia, and that was my goal to, work that way in the hospitals, and I thought was helping people, and it would make a great salary. Anesthesia, it's a pretty good living, and that was my goals. And I worked at, years and years of training, no sleep. It used to be a joke who were the tiredest, the residents or us, and that's what my goal was. But shortly after 9/11, an auto accident changed all of that. It took away everything I had worked for. It took away my future, my dreams, everything that I ever had at that point. Everything changed. We didn't realize how bad it would be quite right away because your body has to shift, adjust, and all of this from injuries and what have you. But unfortunately, my body was nowhere near able to recuperate. So when we figured that out, that pretty much put me out of the workforce. I could never recover from that. It left me multiple spinal injuries, a head injury, left shoulder, both knees, right hip leg. It just was more than I could come back from. And for a person who used to play sports all the time and do everything and very active, it was very devastating to me. It took away everything that I planned to work with medicine and what have you. So for years,
wow.
I was on. Yeah, it was definitely, a change. What was it I was told? Somebody I was with would not go out in public with me, told me I was damaged goods and no way in hell they were going to be seen in public with me. And from that moment on, I decided that, I need to go this alone until I'm physically and financially able to be where I want to be in my head to pursue anything else. And
right.
So it went on, and for 5 years or more, I was on 15 of the most addictive meds known to man, and at extremely high doses. I have 1% of the population, most of them addicts, where I have an outrageously high tolerance to medications. I've been like that since a child. Mm-hmm. And what that allows is the fact that I always have to have very high doses and more frequently. So what they would do is it basically came down to only one doctor would work with me. And once I got to a point of being too high, we'd have to drop me off and then start over again. But, it got scary. And this is when I learned how it was like from being the person caring in the hospital for everybody to being the person as a patient in the hospital. And
yes, and let me interrupt here just for a little while, because just a little thing, because I want to point this out, that your story is so much an American story. It's like you're one step of everything falling apart because this healthcare system, everything, right? So
yeah,
the part that I love to hear, and you're about to talk, is the part of how you see the system from inside and from the outside. And that's a very interesting point, because not many people have that experience. It's almost like the brain surgeon that has a stroke, and can finally experience what she's doing with its clients, right? It's kind of seeing the picture inside and outside. So please talk about that.
Right. While I was working in the hospitals on the unit, I would be the one fighting for the patient. They're going to send a patient out who can't even get out of the cab. I said, well, how do they get out? How do they care for themselves at home? And they're not healed.
Mm-hmm.
They're not they're ready to go. And that's not our problem. I said, does the cab driver, who takes them in? They go, nope, cab's not allowed to touch them. They have to crawl out or whatever out of the cabs and drag themselves into their house and care for themselves. So I was always the kind fighting for the patients, and they knew it. But then I became the patient. And I quickly learned how much the